You're watching HelloNation.
Hello, today we are cracking the code to chiropractic care because our bodies are talking, but are we listening? Welcome to the HelloNation podcast, your voices of good news. I'm your host, Prescott Rossi, and joining us as part of our Hello Healthcare series is the president and the executive vice president of operations for the New York State Chiropractors Association, Chris Piering and Mike Martin. Fellas, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Hi, Prescott.
So first off, fellas, being the voices of good news, we like to start by asking our guests to share their own good news. So Chris, Mike, tell us a little about yourselves and some good news that you two have.
Well, I'll kick it off. I'm a practicing doctor of chiropractic. I'm in Syracuse, New York. I've been in practice here since 1987. Prior to that, I was on Long Island for 3 years. I attended Palmer College of Chiropractic in Davenport, Iowa, graduating from there in 1984. And I've been in Syracuse watching the Orange Men and fighting the snow pretty much ever since.
And Mike?
I am in Albany, New York. I am not a chiropractor. I'm NYSCA's executive vice president of professional affairs. I am an association guy. I have worked with not-for-profit associations for the better part of my adult life. I've got a call that NYSCA was looking for some help for some of their strategic planning issues, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. The super good news for me, though, and I have to just say this, is I am a new grandpa. I have a granddaughter who has jumped to the top of the pecking list in my life. I make no secret of that. Although I am a girl dad, this little girl has jumped right to the top of Grandpa's list. So that's the best news I got going in my life right now, Prescott.
Oh, that's wonderful. Congratulations to you, your family. That's just fantastic. So, guys, as we switch it back to chiropractic care, chiropractic care is one of the most important and sometimes misunderstood areas of healthcare. So, to start us off, what are some common misconceptions or myths about chiropractic healthcare? And can you please explain what a chiropractor actually does?
Well, starting off, what does a chiropractor actually do? Chiropractors are doctor of chiropractic, work with the human body to try to promote health, maximizing the function of the musculoskeletal system and the nervous system. So we do that primarily through manual means, non-drug, non-surgical. And we also focus on a holistic approach, diet, nutrition, proper rest. So again, it's a holistic approach. The other question about the myths, we could talk about that for quite some time.
Oh, I can imagine. So how is chiropractic care different from physical therapy or conventional medicine?
I think probably the basic paradigm shift is that chiropractic focuses on control of the nervous system, how your nervous system runs the body. Chiropractic looks at health kind of from a holistic standpoint, but also from the inside out. Whereas medicine, I think, is more outside intervention. Whereas in chiropractic, we try to optimize body function as the first line of defense to maximizing health.
Now, I know, Chris, you said, we could talk all day about some of the myths. Are there any major ones that you get most frequently that you would love to dispel or try to steer us in another direction?
Absolutely. The one is that, chiropractors are not real doctors. There are many different types of doctors. Chiropractors are not medical doctors. Chiropractors are doctors of chiropractic. There are doctors of physical therapy. There are other types of doctors, osteopaths, doctors of dentistry. So chiropractic is a separate discipline, and it involves education consisting of typically a bachelor's degree and then 4 years of chiropractic college afterwards, which includes study in anatomy, physiology, radiology, body functions, endocrinology, embryology, some of the same functions that are the studies that you would get in medical school or any other doctorate degree that deals with healthcare.
Hold on, I got to go grab a pen and write some of that down.
Wait, I also got one of my other favorite, I'll call it myths, is that once you go, you have to go forever. Like, that's another big myth, right?
Yeah, that is a myth. And really what it comes down to, it's kind of, the way I look at that, it's kind of like thinking that, if you eat right, Today you always have to eat right for the rest of your life. It's probably a good idea, but you don't always have to. Now, with chiropractic, there are different phases of chiropractic care, and I think that's where some of that comes into play, where, we have acute care. Somebody has an injury, they go to a chiropractor, their back hurts, their neck hurts, they have a particular complaint. The acute phase of chiropractic care, you would deal with the initial complaint. The next phase of chiropractic care would be rehabilitative care, which would involve possibly lifestyle changes, rehabilitative exercises, diet changes. The third phase of chiropractic care is what we call supportive care. And supportive care would be utilized when somebody has reached a point of maximum improvement from the rehabilitative phase, but they would fail to sustain that improvement. So they may have periodic need for chiropractic care on an interventional basis after that. And then there's maintenance or wellness care that some people choose to utilize, the same as they would utilize a good healthy diet or other lifestyle issues. So it's part of an overall wellness regimen. But again, that is voluntary. It is not part of the rehabilitative or acute injury care. And I think that's where that myth comes from.
Gotcha. Well, and that's a great lead into my next question. So who can benefit from chiropractic care? Is it just for people experiencing pain?
No, it's not. Chiropractic care can really probably benefit most of the population. Pretty much everybody at some point or another has some kind of back or neck discomfort, joint injuries, sports injuries, that they can benefit from chiropractic care. And the main modality in chiropractic is spinal manipulative therapy. But again, we also approach it from a standpoint of rehabilitation and maximizing body function in other ways. So chiropractic can really reach out across all age groups in various degrees.
Tell us a little bit about the level of education and training that chiropractors need compared to other healthcare providers. Are all chiropractors the same in training and specialization?
No. The basic Doctor of Chiropractic degree, again, involves a bachelor's degree, undergraduate study, then followed by 4 years in chiropractic college. But beyond that, there are other specialties as well: orthopedics, neurology, sports injuries, rehabilitative care. So there's different specialties within chiropractic as well.
What changes, innovations, programs, or advocacy efforts are you most excited about in the field of chiropractic care?
Well, right now in the state of New York, we're working to modernize our scope of practice. The educational levels of chiropractors have increased significantly since then. So in New York State, we are limited in what we can do. Things that we have education in, some of the like extremity adjusting, nutritional aspects, that we are limited in New York State. So we're hoping to modernize our scope of practice. Another thing that we're working on is modernization of chiropractic within the Medicare system. Chiropractors are recognized as physicians within the Medicare system. However, we are limited to the detection and correction of the vertebral subluxation complex. So we're looking to get that changed as well so we can practice to the full extent of our training.
When it comes to working as a chiropractor in New York State, what are some of the maybe benefits but also challenges of working in this state compared to some of the others in the Northeast or throughout the country?
And that's what we're trying to work on with the scope modernization bill. For instance, in Pennsylvania, a chiropractor can see a patient for a shoulder injury, whereas in New York State, we are limited to strictly the spine. If there's a shoulder dysfunction that is related to the spine, then we can deal with it. But extremities, Department of Transportation physicals, most states chiropractors can do that. We're qualified to do that. But because of the narrow scope that's defined in our enabling law, chiropractors in New York State can't do Department of Transportation physicals. We're in a situation right now where there's an acute shortage of primary care physicians. Chiropractors can actually function to help fill that gap.
Gotcha. And Mike, from a NYSCA perspective, I mean, what are some of the momentum in the organization that you found as the executive vice president of operations that puts wind in your sails, that gets you going and knowing that you're moving the ball forward, within the weeks and months of 2026? Sure.
Thank you. And Prescott, if we may, can we take a step back for one moment?
Sure, absolutely.
I should have jumped in a few minutes ago, but I think it's important to make sure people understand. Chiropractors don't work in a vacuum or in a silo, right? Chiropractors, especially the best chiropractors, interact with a variety of other healthcare professionals. So when I, for example, as a patient, work with my chiropractor has access, I make sure that he has access to all the data that I get from the other healthcare professionals I work with, whether it's my primary care practitioner. It's important to understand that the chiropractor in particular has a very broad range of education and knowledge. So it's important to know that when you go to a chiropractor, you're not limited to going to a chiropractor. You still have a variety of other people that chiropractor will interact with. Secondly, as Dr. Piering mentioned, some of the challenges that chiropractors face right now are not challenges that they have created themselves, right? These are challenges that are presented to us that we're trying to overcome, meaning and primarily that modernization of the scope of practice. Chiropractors are regulated like any other healthcare professional in New York State. So to me, that's a huge challenge for all the chiropractors in New York State, and it's a challenge for the profession, frankly. If you're educated and trained elsewhere and want to come here to practice, you have to understand what the limitations are on your education and your expertise. So to Dr. Piering's point, that is a high priority for NYSCA as an organization to make sure that as an organization, we represent the best interests, not just of the chiropractors that belong to NYSCA, but especially of the patients that they treat on a daily basis. There's a lot of things that chiropractors can do and can do really well that they're really not allowed to do right now. Now, having said that, to go back to where NYSCA is, one of the things that motivates me is not only attempting to help the members of the organization and the profession in general with some of those legislative and policy issues. By the same token, NYSCA is an organization that provides a variety of services to those chiropractors as individual small businesses in the state of New York. We provide continuing education programs for them. We have to work with the Department of Education to make sure the Department of Education approves the continuing ed. But like every other profession, chiropractors are required to know a certain amount of continuing education. It's really important for NYSCA to make sure that we can support chiropractors individually, the profession collectively, and our patients as a whole, all those New York State residents that either do or should be utilizing and exploring chiropractic care.
I love it. Sounds like a lot of incredible energy in NYSCA and throughout. So, fellas, as we transition now, our next segment, we call this Hello Goodbye. We came up with that title all on our own. Really, Brittany here, the real genius. But so what I'll do is I'm going to provide some statements, and you two have to say whether you agree or disagree. Hello, agree, and goodbye, disagree. So you guys, you're a treasure trove of valuable information, and I'm sure we could talk for hours. But here in the Hello, Goodbye segment, we'll condense it down just a little bit, provide you with some statements. The first statement here: when administered by a licensed professional, chiropractic care can be safe for infants, pregnant women, and seniors. Hello or goodbye?
Hello. I'll start just by telling you I'm a senior. I go see the chiropractor on a regular basis. So I'm living proof that seniors use chiropractic. By the same token, I mentioned my granddaughter. She's already been to see a chiropractor, and she's less than a year old. So I got the ends covered, Dr. P, talking about the middle.
Yeah, actually, it kind of leads into something else too that I didn't talk about earlier in terms of myths, that chiropractic is a dangerous thing, and that injuries result from spinal manipulative therapy. One of the things that comes up a lot of times is risk of stroke from cervical spine manipulation. And there's been some major studies that have been done on that show that the incidence of stroke following chiropractic spinal manipulation is no different than the incidence of stroke following a visit to a general practitioner. Again, so that's one of the myths associated with it. There have been major studies on Medicare patients showing efficacy and no increased risk of injury from chiropractic care. So in terms of reaching across all age groups, yeah, that's something we can definitely do.
I guess I'd want to know, what is it that you do for infants and I guess even younger kids? What is done to them?
Well, younger kids are subject to things like sports injuries, other musculoskeletal injuries that can be responsive to spinal manipulative therapy. There are some cases where the actual traumatic episode of birth can result in things in misalignment in the pelvis or in the upper cervical spine, where gentle spinal manipulative therapy can be beneficial. There are some anecdotal studies that show that infantile colic might actually be responsive to spinal manipulative therapy. And these are the kind of things that we do definitely need to do more research on. But again, application of spinal manipulative therapy can be safely applied across all age groups.
Love it. Alrighty, so on to the next hello, goodbye. Professional chiropractic adjustments are usually painful. Hello or goodbye.
Goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye.
Spinal manipulative therapy typically is not painful. There may be some transient discomfort that occurs after spinal manipulation. It tends to be very transient, short-lived, and the positive effects continue after any transient negative effects dissipate.
And then on to the next one. I think I know the answer to this one. We touched upon it a little earlier. Once you start seeing a chiropractor, you have to go forever. Hello or goodbye.
Goodbye.
Do you think that is one of the bigger myths? Like, of all the myths, do you think that's got to be one of the top ones, right?
I think in terms of myths, probably the safety of it is number one. And number two might be that once you go, you have to go forever. And again, there's different ways of utilizing chiropractic care based upon the different phases that I mentioned earlier. It's kind of, I look at it from the standpoint, if once you start to exercise, do you always have to exercise? No, but it's probably a good idea. Chiropractic care can be utilized as part of an overall wellness strategy. Again, with exercise, with good sleep habits. So you don't have to go forever, but there can be some benefits for most people. We advocate spinal manipulative therapy as part of an overall wellness regimen, together with diet, exercise, and just management of health in general.
Alrighty, on to the next one. And this one, I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say about this. Insurance typically covers chiropractic care.
Well, that is a slippery slope, isn't it? I mean, everybody loves their insurance company, right? Chiropractic care is covered by Medicare. It's covered by most major medical insurance companies. It's covered by workers' compensation. It's covered by automobile insurance. However, like anything else, people are facing high copays. People are facing high deductibles. So we have to deal with that as well. And the changing face of health insurance right now sometimes makes it difficult.
A lot of people don't think about the fact that most chiropractors are literally small business owners, right? They provide a service, right? It's a valuable service, it's an important service, but it doesn't mean it's not a business. There's another side of that coin, and that is that somebody pays for it, and the challenge there is understanding how to run a business, and insurance is one of those critical components, because when people visit a chiropractor, they don't all have the same health care. They're not all the same age. There's a variety of different ways that they're covered by insurance. So chiropractors also have to understand that and have an office staff that understands that as well. So that's actually a really interesting question. And as Dr. Piering said, the answer is hello. But there's an aspect of that I think people need to understand that makes it challenging for everybody.
Yes, I can imagine. So on to the next one. You have to have something, quote, wrong with you in order to see a chiropractor.
I would say goodbye.
Yeah, I would say goodbye as well. I use chiropractic as my primary health care, frankly. And I would not would to this point a reasonably healthy person. I go sometimes with a specific problem, but I go to my chiropractor primarily as wellness.
I'm going to pick that up a little bit too. Mike says he uses chiropractic as his primary health care, which isn't to say that he doesn't utilize medical practitioners as well. The chiropractors can act as gatekeepers as well. And I'll give you a great example. The American College of Family Physicians recommends as their primary mode of treatment for back pain, non-pharmacologic measures, including spinal manipulation. Typically, when you go to a PCP, they'll give you medication for your back pain, which means that either they're not aware of their own guidelines or choose not to follow them. Do you have to have something wrong with you to go to a chiropractor? Back to the original premise? No, but most people can use some measure of optimization of their body's function. So whether that be through spinal manipulation or lifestyle changes, dietary changes, things like that. In my practice, we focus a lot on spinal manipulation and rehabilitative exercises. Do you have to have something wrong with you to benefit from that? No, not really.
All righty then. And then on to the last one from the Hello Goodbye segment. When people think of healthcare, chiropractic care should be in the picture.
Definitely hello.
And that's almost like a head knock. Hello? That's for sure.
Mike and I are pretty close to the same age. And, I utilize medical practitioners. I think it's interesting that my cardiologist and my primary care practitioner are both patients of mine. So it's a two-way street. I share an office with a physical therapy group. Very complementary. Chiropractic is part of the overall healthcare picture. It is not, people want to think of it as alternative medicine. It shouldn't be thought of so much as that as complementary. When somebody comes into me, if they require care of a vascular surgeon, I'm not going to treat them for the condition that requires care from a vascular surgeon or from a cardiologist. By the same token, there's an awful lot of people who come into us who have radicular symptoms, nerve pain, they have sciatica, they have headaches, and we can get really good results with them conservatively, drug and surgery free. And if they need additional care beyond what we can do, we make those appropriate referrals.
How often do you find people are not aligned? Like, how often are people who may not even know, how often do you see people out?
If you think about it, your body becomes symptomatic when it's in a crisis. It's a response to something that's wrong, but it's kind of radically wrong. Your body will always try to adapt and compensate. By the time people become symptomatic, typically the problem is getting out of control. So it's pretty common that we'll find something that people could benefit from chiropractic care that aren't necessarily in a crisis state.
I often think, like, when you pull a back out, you probably feel it a little bit before, and then all of a sudden it's like,
people think about, the acute care thing, right? What happens is these things are often progressive and cumulative. And as I mentioned earlier, cartilage and ligament don't heal that terribly well. So it leaves you with altered joint physiology, altered joint movement. That affects the nervous system. It affects muscular function. So again, we focus on that to try to optimize that.
And so as we wrap things up here, fellas, are there any closing thoughts? What if someone who knows very little about chiropractic care were to come across this video, what's one thing you would want them to take away and think about, as they consider, contacting a chiropractor themselves?
In a simple way of looking at it, the chiropractic is a holistic approach to health that utilizes spinal manipulation, diet, nutrition, good, healthy lifestyles in order to maximize health. So I think the big takeaway is that health comes mostly from the inside out, and we want to try to prevent somebody requiring much greater interventions that require things from the outside in.
I'll offer you another perspective too, which I think is really important. Chiropractors are among the healthcare professionals that you can go see and literally walk out feeling better as soon as you've done that. And not every healthcare professional can do that for you. So to me, if you're in any kind of pain, if you're experiencing any sort of discomfort, to Dr. Piering's point, a chiropractor will give you an evaluation and have a conversation with you. It's a partnership. At least it always has been for me. And to me, those are the best healthcare relationships, whether it's with your chiropractor or with your primary care physician. I mean, to me, I would look at it that way, that your chiropractor is going to be your partner in health. That person wants you to feel better and wants you to live as long as you possibly can. So they're going to collaborate with you and work with you.
Question for you. Is it better to go in a hot tub or is it better to ice? I'm just simply talking about the back.
I'll field that one too. Typically, again, inflammation, irritation. If you twisted your ankle and your ankle swelled up, would you put heat on it or put ice on it? It's pretty obvious. Inflammation, irritation typically is going to do better in the initial phases with the application of cold. If you're stiff, you're sore, you're a little bit achy, say after a workout, a hot tub might be a great thing to do. But anything, the rule that I use is if it's new, nasty, or acute, we're going to go with ice. If it's something that's achy, stiff, sore, then heat can be a really good application.
Love it. Yeah.
Note to self.
Yes, absolutely. Well, you heard it here first from true experts. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. I'm Prescott Rossi, signing off with Chris Piering and Mike Martin from the New York State Chiropractors Association. And this has been the HelloNation podcast, where good news travels faster. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching Hello Nation.